All right, we're doing this. The Real Kyper and Bourne Show, Leaf Edition. I'm Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. A very dejected Sammy McKee.
He's worked through several stages of grieving.
Derek Brandeo, David Sisboomba. We're glad you're aboard. Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6. And remember to download us if you can't catch us live. I'm so happy this show has finally started. I can't listen to you mumble. I don't want to do this today. I don't want to do this today. I don't want to do this today.
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't want to do this today.
Well, you're doing it.
Yeah, you're right. That's why I'm sitting here, pal.
And we got a lot of listeners out there that says we want an explanation. And I'm not sure you're going to get it in the next hour or so. And if we don't, by chance, we'll maybe squeeze out a little bit out of Elliotte Friedman, who will be joining us in studio at the top of the hour. So, Leafs bow out in the first round against the Boston Bruins. 2-1 overtime loss in Game 7. Third time in 4 seasons that they've stalled in the opening round. First and foremost, tip of the hat to someone who doesn't even have his name on the show. Our boy Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
Picked Boston in 7. We tried our best, JB, to go Leafs in 7. Were we close? Were we not that close? Why don't you start?
Just close.
Well, I mean, you were literally an overtime goal away from being right. So,
But is it close?
Yeah.
What's the expression? Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, I think is the expression. It's like that. That just close doesn't matter anymore. Unfortunately, I can't believe here we are doing this again. And not because I thought they were like predestined to beat the Boston Bruins by any stretch, but just that they really did do the thing where they wrung maximum pain out of the fan base. The comeback to make you believe. Wool goes in, they turn it around. Matthews gets healthy. Again, the rug gets pulled out. It's just mind-blowing that it happened in the most devastating fashion possible.
Do we, we're going to get into, for sure, what's next.
Sure are.
Don't worry, we're going to get into that. But just, how do we look back at this series, I don't know, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
Will it be that, same results, but a different way to get there? And if it was...
Same old Leafs, Kippy. There's absolutely
no.
No.
When you have guys disappear like Willie for the first 3 games, or a good portion of the middle from Austin, and then Joseph Woll disappears in Game 7 out of nowhere, it's not the same old, Sammy. This one was like, I can't even describe it on how bizarre of a series it was to watch.
I think, right now you're talking about that and you'll talk about, but I think when you look back on it, it's just a 4th straight loss to the Boston Bruins in the first round. Like, sure, people remember that Joe Woll got hurt and people remember all that stuff, but ultimately they were right there to win it and they didn't. So I think those will be little footnotes, but a couple years from now, whenever you talk about this, it'll just be that they lost again to the Boston Bruins like they always do, I think, personally.
It is funny because everyone I've talked to, you're not even allowed to do the excuses thing, right? But what a strange series. There were extenuating circumstances that made it challenging. Again, that doesn't absolve them of not scoring goals, of losing 4 times in a 7-game series. But boy, what a strange one.
I just, over the last 48 hours, my Leaf fans, my brothers and sisters who are diehard Leaf fans, have just been the absolute punching bag of the NHL world again. And, I'm very online. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Twitter. I have people sending me memes. I have people saying mean things to me about the Bruins, how they own the Leafs. It's just everybody in Leafs Nation has taken so much crap from this era of Leafs hockey because of the hype that was brought up. And it's just a really, really tough pill to swallow to have to go over this again. And that to me, and we're going to get into what's going forward, that to me is why you need to have some kind of change. I don't know what the changes are. I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But we can't go through this again with the same.
The whole could it have been different thing doesn't matter when you're this close. It shouldn't be this close.
And
You got to pull away.
And that close to what?
Right.
Like,
Sneaking through and then losing to Florida or whatever.
Beating the worst version of the Boston Bruins in the last 10 years in overtime and then getting pasted by the Florida Panthers. Close to what?
Yeah.
They're not close to anything. Sorry.
No.
Just how
Listen,
I'm feeling today.
all truth.
We've joked around earlier in the week about burying them and then bringing them up from the dead.
Yeah.
And then about 2 hours, I got pretty much confirmation that Wall was out.
Yeah.
And everybody buried them again.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hung in there. Saturday night, they did more than hang in there. They had at times the Boston Bruins on their rope. They just couldn't find a way to separate themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
But I thought they played a pretty solid game, and they're still not ready to win, in my opinion, because when it was all said and done, still that issue of protecting a lead or bringing it home, they couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it, especially going up 1-0 in the third.
Yeah.
And then finding a way to lose.
They made my son cry his first ever sports tears. 7 years old. First ever time, gets to stay up, watch a few games of the series, starts to believe, thinks it's like a movie where the good guys are going to win in the end.
Yeah.
Going into OT, I was like, just so you know, I've seen this movie. So if it ends this way, it didn't matter. Heartbroken. So I feel for all the fans, all the kids, everyone trying their best to will this team across the line. I feel bad.
So just judging by your tone today, Kippy,
Yeah.
like you're not, the Leafs Nation is up in arms. Like there is no respite. There's no one feeling good. There's no one being like, what? But maybe one more kick in the can will get it done.
No.
There's not one, but like,
no, they didn't get it done.
Here?
No,
Like,
I'm not. I'm not zagging. I'm not zagging. I'm just saying that there's a sense, and they ran out of time, but there was a sense that like they kind of got it right this time, not with the result, but just the look. And there might be some people behind the scenes trying to hang on to that as something to move forward on. No, I'm just telling you.
I'm not reacting to you saying
and I said, we sat here and you laughed at me when I said you got to win games 2-1. That's all they've been trying to do the last 3 times. They fell short.
They couldn't win them.
No, they fell short. I get it. But that's the first time in 10 years that we've seen them at least have some
I guess it looked different, but no
resemblance
better.
of a playoff type of style.
So this crap sandwich tastes better than last year's PP milkshake?
No, they're all the same. They're all the same.
They're all the same.
They're all the same.
It
In the
doesn't
last
matter.
7 winner-take-all games.
I'm just, listen, we're going to get into it, and I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to have my say like everybody else. But I'm just saying that, like, it was an enjoyable, I get your emotion of it, losing, but I don't know. I thought it was a fun game to watch.
Oh my God. This is a baffling take. I enjoyed Game 7.
Well, I didn't.
I'm evolving.
Nothing about that was fun. Nothing.
Okay. All right. Now you guys are going. You're going super. You're going super fan on me. You're going super fan on me. It's fine. It's fine. All I'm just saying is I enjoyed for the first time watching the Leafs.
All right.
Try to win with a playoff style. That's all.
Enjoyed
the
right way. That's all.
You're right. And in games, the one
We're just talking about the game. We're not talking about what happens.
Yeah.
We're not talking about, the years of misery. We're just talking about face value Saturday night.
I think there's something to what you said for game 5, 6, and parts of 7, as well as the Leafs have ever played defensively, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. And I'm not saying that it was good enough because, listen, they need to. You're ready to win this time of year. You close out 1-0 with 10 minutes to go. Okay, go watch Dallas last 8.5 minutes last night.
Couldn't watch hockey yesterday. Sorry.
No, okay, I'll tell you all about it then. I'll tell you about it.
Couldn't watch.
Vegas didn't get a sniff. Okay, not a sniff. That's how you show you're ready to win. Leafs, whether it's Samsonov who buckled
could they score a couple goals?
right?
Like,
They didn't need to. One was enough Saturday night.
it wasn't enough.
One was enough. If you
It's
shut
insane
down.
to have the takeaway be they need to defend better. How many goals did Boston score in that series?
One sometimes is enough. Okay, they're just not ready. They're getting closer, but they weren't ready to. And Samsonov was not ready. Sorry, short side again. No good.
No good.
No good.
Is this you absolving your boy,
Who's that?
Marner, of not scoring?
One big picture. He still has more points than all the rest of them in the last 7 years. So, they're all the
9
same.
in the first series.
They're all the same. I know everybody wants to beat up Mitch again. He's the poster boy. It's so funny listening to the media go after, what do you think of Mitch taking a beating? They asked all the players, what do you think of Mitch taking a beating? Everybody had to answer to that.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. And and everybody else? No? Marchand, the last 4 games, had 2 shots on goal and goose eggs.
Yeah, and they won.
And that's the bottom line.
And he had 8 points through 4 games.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
That is the bottom line. I get it. But, my whole point in all of this, and Mitch was not good enough, but neither was Matthews. Neither was Morgan Riley. Neither was Samsonov when push came to shove.
You're a good hockey analyst who watches this stuff and has a great idea. You can't have Mitch on the same level as Matthews, who was hurt and injured or hurt and sick. And you can't have him on the same level as Willie, who missed 3 games and scored 3 times.
I do. It's just result. Sheldon said it. You either get it done or you don't get it done. So you got sick. All right, well.
Okay, well, he had a goal and 3 assists in, 3.5 games.
One game he showed up.
Great. It's better than 0, isn't it? How is it the same?
They're all in it together, my friend. I don't separate them. They're all in it.
Well, you should, because they make different contracts. They're not the same people, and you have to make decisions on the individuals that can't get you across the line.
I'm speaking about...
We do not agree.
The guys who are paid the most, and for the blue line, it's Morgan Riley. I mean, Morgan, you can't stand flat foot and watch the Boston Bruins come at you at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm sorry.
You hear all this noise going on in Leaf Nation, everyone going, I heard you last night on with Ken Navanka talking about revisiting contracts and how Mitch and JT are probably the guys you're going to have to talk to at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the whole thing didn't work. It never worked, right?
Okay.
4 guys, 4 forwards, doesn't work.
Yeah.
2 guys are locked in. 2 guys are floating around there with a year left on their contracts. It's not, you don't have to be a rocket genius to figure out what's happening here.
No.
Okay.
No, you don't.
So, okay, just what changes? You said it off the top of the show. Changes. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I want to start with Marner, Kip. Like I do.
Okay.
And I know,
I don't want to start with Marner.
I know you don't.
I want to start with who decides.
Yes.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Okay.
But if we're talking about the on the ice product here,
It's the easiest. It's the
By
easiest
far.
out.
For sure.
You can't commit to those other 2 guys 5 years and 8 years, and then bail on it 12 months later.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that, and I'm not even sure he wants to come back.
No.
How much can you take?
Well, and that's a fair question too. I do genuinely wonder, because obviously nothing can happen unless he doesn't want to come back, or at least is willing to entertain something else. Otherwise, it just is what it is.
Do you think he wants out of this?
You didn't really get the sense out. Did you get the sense out of today? Do you want to go to some clips already and get into it?
Do you want to play the Marner clip from today? That's everybody's really mad about.
That's where you want to start.
I mean, we can start a bit with it. The clip 1 from Marner there, Derek.
I mean, that'd be a goal. I've expressed my love for this place, this city. Obviously, I've grown up here, so we'll start thinking about that now and trying to figure something out.
What does it mean to be a Maple Leaf?
It means the world. Obviously, we're looked upon as kind of gods here, to be honest, and something that you really appreciate, and the love that you get here from this fan base and this attention is kind of none like any other. So you saw it with the Raps a couple years ago, the love that they still have for a lot of those players that they had to trade off this year. And that's kind of the love you want.
Yeah, the gods rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah.
I just listening to the way he said it, what he's trying to say is we get treated really, really well here. It just maybe the bad choice of words.
But
Say we're doing okay.
Right? It's not like, hey, we're gods. We just got knocked out in the first round, but I still think I'm a god.
I understand what he's trying to say, Kyper.
Yeah.
But there's just too many instances of him being this way with the media.
Buddy, I can't argue with you that his
he's-
choice of words sometimes, and I'm the first one to
I don't
say.
disagree that like he's right. They are looked at and talked about in that regard, so it's not ridiculous. It's just a timing thing.
It's a timing thing for sure, and it's not the right word to use a couple of days after you've been eliminated.
Yeah.
But as far as the way we know, like when they win and everybody's feeling great, he's not that far off of the ass kissing that goes on between this city and their players.
Yeah, that's he's not. And I think we're both right, and we're all on the same page here. That there's just this like trend of like,
But there are
you gotta
there are times when he gets his guard up and he can come off standoffish, and yeah, there are times when you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. So,
And it's with the media too,
I
right?
think there was no way that everyone was going to talk today, and we were going to sit here today and go, yeah, I thought everyone nailed it. You know, like it's tough. But
here's what I'll say
that
about
phrase is not great.
Here's what I'll say about these media days, because they've had a lot of experience in this.
Yeah.
It's 7 of the last 8 years they've been out in the first round, so they've had a lot of chances to do this exact same one. And I've listened to all those. I've worked in this here for 10 years. I've done every one of them. Listened to them all. I just would kill for one time for the 4 guys to have a different tone than they always do. Morgan Riley, different tone today. Devastated. Like, looked like he had legitimately been maybe up all night crying. Like, he was devastated.
Do you have?
I do have Morgan Riley clip.
I want to hear it.
Okay. I'll play the Morgan Riley on where the Leafs are at. Clip 1.
I don't want to stand here and try to tell you that we're on the doorstep of anything, because we're sitting here today doing this, but the belief is there that it's attainable, but there's work and improvement that has to take place. So how close are we? I don't know. We'll see. It feels both attainable and a ways away, and that's what drives you as an individual. That's what drives a team forward to either have success or we'll see.
See?
Yeah.
So,
And there's always going to be that sense that if you're on the inside, if you're hoping that you're still part of the solution, you're not going to give up. It's common, but there's teams saying the same thing that missed the playoffs. There's same thing with the teams that have been knocked out.
but it's not like this, Kyper. It's not like this. It's like the tone.
No, I'm just saying in general, though, it doesn't matter if you've been knocked out 1,000 times in a row or the first time. It's always the same thing, that you're always going to feel like you want to be a part of the solution, and we're never going to give up hope. But the problem is hope isn't like a strategy. And that's what...
No, but it's not his job to construct one. It's his job to tell us how he's feeling about things.
Yes. And he did. He's like, sometimes I feel really close, and sometimes I can't tell you that we're close at all.
Yeah.
We keep knocked out in the first round.
It's actually a very accurate sentiment for how I feel about the Leafs, kind of teetering on this edge of like, God, if they got to trade right and they added the right guys, you could see it pushing them across the line. Same time, if you give up on a great player and you get worse,
could say that. Any team could say that. Any team, right? It's just part of the frustration of being a Leaf fan, is
But
that feeling like Morgan. Are we close or are we not close? I don't know.
The difference between the Toronto Maple Leafs and any other team, though, Kippy, is that they are the Toronto Maple Leafs, and this version of the Leafs with these stars has had more hype than anyone, really. Like, they have been hyped up there with the McDavids and the McKinnons, and they've not lived up to the hype. So it's like the perfect sort of recipe for a fan base to really resent a team when they've been told nonstop by people like me,
treated like gods,
where they've built these guys up and you've got nothing in return. You've gotten one series win in 8 years of regular season success where you've been relevant and you've been fun, but it's almost worse to just...
Well, you'd like to see him care the way it feels like Morgan did, and it hurts.
I honestly feel like if I went back and grabbed clips from 7 of the 8 media days over the last 8 years, I could have played them today and you guys wouldn't have known the difference.
Yeah.
Like it's just the same tone over and over.
With the exception that nobody said, we just got to learn from this. They avoided that one like the plague.
Well, I'm sure they had a big team call yesterday and said, no learning experience talk tomorrow at locker clean out day.
Yeah.
Don't say it. But I don't know.
Enough of an education. I mean, in terms of serious takeaways, Kip, like I thought Matthews gave what he could and played pretty well. I thought Nylander showed up and gave,
Did we get an explanation for Matthews?
No explanation on injury.
Would you like to hear what he said?
Sure.
Okay, let's play Matthews on his injury. Kept him out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was tough. Got really, really sick after game 2, and played in game 3. Obviously, just kind of going through that. Still kind of trying to recover. Going into game 4, took a weird hit, and couldn't go any longer. And that's as detailed as I'm going to get into it. I mean, obviously, it was tough. It was really frustrating. It sucks and was killing me to watch. Proud of the guys and how they fought and climbed their way back into the series. And I was fortunate to get to play in that game 7 and just try to go out there and give it my all. And obviously, it's disappointing and frustrating being here today.
You okay with that? Just a weird hit?
No, I'm not okay with that. That actually might be the worst thing that was said at the press conference today, because when there's an information void, people fill it with theories and whatever, and it just makes it worse.
Hey.
So you just have to say what happened.
This time of year, there's lots of weird hits.
Yeah.
So
you think he's
No, I don't
soft
think
for not
anything.
playing?
To me, think people need a better explanation than just a weird hit.
I do too. I'm actually shocked that they're saying weird hit and we know. Okay.
Yeah.
What is it?
Lots of
what
weird
happened?
hits.
Everyone at the end of the year, so find time to share what happened.
But ultimately, he guts through whatever the weird hit gave him.
Yeah.
I thought he looked at about 25% in game 7. If that, I thought he was laboring a little bit. Finds a way to get a puck off the half board into the slot to Willie Nylander, who scores a goal that we thought should have been the winning goal. I thought he was...
Yeah, there's a chance that ends up being a moment in Leaf lore rather than another moment.
I mean, did he lead them in points?
Yeah, with a whopping 4, yeah.
Yeah, he played...
Him, Max, and Bertuzzi.
5 games, and he got 4 points.
Yeah. With 3 and 1.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time... So power rank the reasons they lost this series, if you can do that. What do you think the number one reason they lost this series?
It's got to be
specialty
offense.
teams,
Yeah.
power play.
That's
power play.
That's me. I agree.
Right? Power play
And what are the two most...
and goaltending.
Well,
No, I'm sorry, but never got it straight.
Yeah.
Never got it right. Chasing it the whole season. Come on, Sammy. Snap out of it, Sammy. And Joseph Wall gets hurt. This guy was supposed to be in a position by the end of the year to be your definitive number 1 goalie moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of bail on him after the 2 losses to Boston, and it's Sammy's ball.
Mm-hmm.
Till it's not Sammy's ball.
Yeah.
And then he goes in there, and it's not even this. He's not even re-injuring his ankle. It's a new injury.
Yeah.
How old is he? 26?
Younger than that.
I think he's about 26, around that age.
He's not a kid. He's not. If he was
25, yeah.
If he was 22, 23, I'm like, okay, he's just going through this.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy's got a history of being hurt.
Yes, he does, absolutely.
And there's not a chance I would label this guy as our number 1 goalie going into next year.
No.
That is a disaster waiting to happen for a guy that cannot stay healthy. He needs to go home. He needs to reassess everything he does off and on the ice. If he thinks he's got a chance to be a regular starter in the National Hockey League, he's got to fix something. He's got to change something about his...
Yeah.
From the moment you brush your teeth, for God's sakes.
It's funny because these situations like this, there's not really any analysis to be done aside from you cross your fingers. If he can play, he's awesome. If he can't, he isn't. He has to deal with
back
that,
to
Kip.
hoping again.
Yeah, he has to play with that, and maybe you have to plan around that. And that's not a great spot to be in. So certainly that.
So
might
we
be
got
a
specialty teams, goaltending.
You know, I got to say, I don't think Marner was good enough, Kippy.
Yeah.
No,
he wasn't. He wasn't.
And I think
no, he was
number
not
one.
good enough.
he, you know, he's leaned on. He's one of the highest paced wingers in the league. And guess what? I'll give him credit for being good defensively. Good defensively. He did a good job on Pasternak, except, you know, in overtime when he blows by him, he doesn't look at him. He just has to be better in these playoff games, Kippy. And he's like, the reason people are mad at him,
He's not.
it's valid.
He's not the reason why they lost the first round.
No, but he's one of them.
I mean,
I'm okay with that.
But if they lose by a goal,
But where was your $11 million centerman? And
Wow.
you're like,
where was he? He was hurt. He was in the press box half the time, or he was
Tavares,
sick. Oh, the captain.
$11
Sorry.
million
Okay.
centerman.
Okay. So Tavares
where is he? You get to justify it because you say, well, there's just no expectations, right? And it's like, no, that's not good enough. That can't be good enough. You're still in a position where you're getting paid $11 million,
and he's going to get the same
produce.
treatment. Where they're going to
Not even close. He's getting the same treatment.
He's going
not
to,
even close.
Well, the expectation is different, but he's going to get the same treatment in terms of you got to talk to him and see if he's willing to go somewhere else with the no move. Because you're right, he's providing value that's maybe half of his contract at most.
Yeah,
it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just weird to fight about Mitch Marner all the time.
No, it's not a fight. It's just you see what you want to see. I still see one of the most productive players in the league the last 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't get it done for the Leafs, but like you got to look at the big picture here. Like even if Mitch showed up, I'm not sure it would have been enough.
Well, I mean, he is a key contributor to the power play, and it's a lot of coaching. But, you know, if he's better on the power play, maybe they score more. Like, he's one of the team's best players, oftentimes been the Leafs' best player. And how many points did he end up with this series?
There was no back end support for any of them up front. There was no layers. Morgan Riley was not Morgan from Tampa Bay.
No.
So who's jumping up? Who's helping those guys up front? Who's layering behind them?
McMahon, another injury-prone guy that hurt not having, right?
Right? So it's like...
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, man.
Take a look at every other D blue line and just see where the contributions are coming. You got like meat and potato guys back there. You know, they had some success standing up at the blue line. They challenged, they blocked shots, but where's the skill to help out Tavares, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, or you just got to wait for Nylander to keep circling around and fire one into the net?
I think you're going to see some changes there, right? It would be nice to have someone on the back end who could run the power play and shoot it in. I know they tried that with Klingberg. So it will be an area to address, for sure. Was it 14 straight goals with 3 or fewer goals? 13 of those, 2 or fewer. So, I mean, Maple Leafs in the last 7 winner take all games 0-7, 12 goals for, 27 against, 14% power play. So, not good enough.
Meat and potato guys were pretty good, I think, overall.
Yeah. And
Dewar in and out of the lineup. He was okay.
I think you can look and say there are positives, and I know it's early to turn that page, but like, nice, great series. Feel good about him. I think Robertson will score goals next year. Like, I think there's good things there, but tough one today. Tough one today. All right, well, any other clips we want to get to before we hit the break?
What do you want to talk about?
We haven't done the big picture stuff, which I know you want to do.
No, we'll do that after the break.
Okay.
And we haven't talked about the head coach.
Right.
No, that's big picture stuff. You know, Brendan and
Okay.
Tree Living and Keith, what's their status here? We can get all into that after the break.
Let's do that.
Yep.
Okay, we'll take a few words to pay some bills, and we're back with more of Real Kyper and Bourne Leaf Edition after these words. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. All right. You still like some clips from Saturday night, Sammy, or should we move on?
I mean,
Which one you like?
The one that got everybody all hot and bothered was clip number 3. So if you want to play clip number 3, Derek, and then we can talk about it after that.
They're a very structured team. You know, they do a very good job through the neutral zone, and they protect their net as well, or better than most most any team in the NHL. And they were content to do that. They were content to do that. It's very evident. Teams play the Leafs. They set up the game for the Leafs to beat themselves. And I thought we did that in game 3 and 4. We beat ourselves with how we played it at home. I thought in games 1 and 2, parts of 1, but parts of 1 were like 3 and 4, but game 2 certainly, and 5 and 6. The way we played, that's a way that can win, and did win. 3 of the games in this series, and didn't beat ourselves. So it makes it hard. It makes it hard to get offense.
That one bothered you?
The middle part.
That made people mad about the team set up the game for the Leafs to beat themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he fell into that kind of Mitch Marner, if I could choose my words a little bit more carefully.
And he followed it up by saying today something about how, a lot of teams set up traps for other teams. And, he kind of, walked
and
it
I
back
think
a
that's
little
where
bit.
he was trying to, where he's trying to go.
You know what the strangest part of it is to me,
Right.
by a good distance, is him referring to the team as the Leafs.
Yeah, that's...
To not just being like,
Us.
exactly. They just
think for the most
set
part,
it up
he-
for us to beat ourselves.
What I got at him today actually was, I thought he, under the circumstances, did a good job because he constantly went to the ownership of, it's my job. I didn't get it done. I should be held accountable.
Do you want to hear his opening monologue from today, Keith?
Yeah.
Number 5. Clip 5, please. Okay, we're waiting on clip 5.
And then, so I think it was his way of trying to say the same thing about they force mistakes on us, right? Which he could have
So
said
basically
it.
saying, they believe that we'll take chances and give it up the other way eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't much
They
in the
just
series.
force their mistakes. Okay, let's hear today's.
Today is always a difficult day, and really the worst day of the season, which is, it should feel that way when you don't meet expectations. And today is certainly one of those days. We're in the results business here, and we didn't get results, and we haven't met expectations. And as a head coach, I take responsibility for that. You have a team that has expectations and has goals in mind, and you don't reach them, it's not a good feeling. My job as a head coach is to find solutions and chart a path ahead for the group to come through and to succeed at the most important time of year. And we haven't done that. I do feel we've, a year ago, took a step in the right direction as a group. I love the resolve that we showed in this series, game 5 and 6 in particular, to give us a chance to compete in game 7. But clearly that's not enough, and that sits with me.
That was his, he cut a promo before the press conference even started. No one asked him a question. Then he said after that, we'll open it up for questions. So everyone, and I wanted to talk about this in the first segment. I asked you guys about this. This is kind of me thinking through the series over the past couple of days. But, you think about game 5 and 6, and he always refers to game 5 and 6. Game 4 killed them.
Game 4 is embarrassing.
Game 4, the further we get away from this series, will be one that I look back
They
on.
lost it in the first. They did lose the series.
Game 4, they lost the series to me.
They lost it at 3-1.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, Boston's going to blow it again. Boston's going to blow it again.
And they almost did, but
Nobody has done it. Nobody's lost back-to-back 3-1 leads in the history of the game.
Yep.
Okay, the odds were not in the Leafs' favor of coming back.
Yeah.
So that's the series was lost the first 4 games.
Well, no, I think, Kyper, 2-1 through 3 games of a playoff series is a total, that's fine. That happens a million times of a million. The good teams always win that game 4. If you're going to make it 2-2 to even it back, to keep the home ice advantage, the way they performed in that game 4 will always haunt me.
Being
in this
down
series.
3-1
Yeah.
was too big of a hill to climb.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Yeah. So
where are we on Sheldon Keefe? What do you think? Keeps his job? Fire him? What do you say?
Listen, I think he's a good coach. I don't know that anyone's doing anything tactically different, better, whatever, but you're on the hook for those special teams. That's a big part of your responsibility as a coach. They go 1 for 20. They fall a goal short. I think, you've been given some pretty great tools here and haven't really gotten met expectations.
I don't know. I mean, I get it that the numbers on the power play, but I'm not sure, like, when push came to shove, he had the right tools for a power play.
No?
Nothing in the back end. You went and got Klingberg because you didn't feel like Morgan Riley could get the job done.
Yeah, but
like,
Kip, in the regular season, they're 20-some
I don't
percent,
know. Regular season. We've been here. Told you half the teams stink in this league. Yeah. Okay? So you can build up a lot of crapola stats on crappy teams.
I mean, they have $40 million worth of forwards.
It doesn't
on their power
matter.
play.
It's wrong.
It should matter.
No.
Kipper. It should matter. Like,
I'm telling you.
To say that he doesn't have the tools is crazy.
Morgan's not a QB quarterback back there.
I know he's not. But they had a 25% power play last year in the playoffs with them.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just, no, like for me, a power play has to be with everybody. And I look at Edmonton Oilers right now, and they're not missing a thing. They got a guy that can skate it in 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah. So what? He's one guy.
Yeah, but
he's one guy.
Maybe the greatest guy in the history of the game.
It's not. Power play. I'm telling you, it's not enough. You got net front presence. You got Nugent Hopkins. You got Draisaitl, who can shoot it off of a 1 foot line, a goal line, and you've got Bouchard, who can hammer it like nobody's business. But it is complete.
What would that power play look like without McDavid?
I don't know what the answer is there, but I know that 11 of the 16 teams in the first round of the playoffs were 20% and higher in terms of conversion rate. 8 of them 25 and higher, being Carolina, Vegas, the Islanders, Dallas, Bruins. Like the Islanders, Kip, they don't have the pieces either. They shot it in the net a few times. Like,
listen, they never set anything up, anything that looked consistent. Like sometimes Mitch Marner was in the bumper
but that's
spot.
why he's on the hook, right?
Sometimes he's down low. You don't know what he's being told. You don't know what their direction that they're giving him. You don't know what anything's going on down there. Like sometimes
results business. Results aren't good enough.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, and they don't identify. They don't. They look like they're following arrows on the ice.
I agree with that.
Okay. So they don't look like a team that takes what's given and let your imagination run. They look like they're just like suffocating in information.
So what are you saying here then about the head coach? Because I think if there's one thing that unites everybody talking about this is that Keith, and I actually like listening to Keith today, like you said, there's some things that he said that I didn't love, talking about the process being good in the power play, but like generally, and you're not supposed to judge people like that. He seems like a good guy. And like I see him up there and I like the way he's talking. He's been on our show. He says all these things.
I'm leaning towards more on you that I think that there's something there for him to be a good coach. I think he could take this learning experience out of the Toronto Maple Leafs and it can make him a better coach down the road.
But it just can't happen here anymore.
But I'm not far off on that at all.
Yeah.
He does lack attention to detail for me.
In what way?
That's power play, game-winning goal. Like, and that's again, like you can sit there and you're going to blame Mitch Marner on a 200 or 100-foot dump in that a winger isn't the first guy in the zone.
No, he was to cut him off.
It was like, go watch Tavares there, not Angle Lindholm. Go watch Willie. Willie. So Austin got to change. Bertuzzi changed. You stayed out there. What was the one common theme we've had? Right? Long shifts, bad changes. Now you're out there, Willie. You're standing flat-footed along with 44. That's the collection I'm talking to. You want to just blame Mitch Marner on that goal? Go ahead. But it's a 100-foot dump in.
Yeah.
I've played wing my whole life. When a defenseman dumps it in at center ice, I'm not the first guy to go back in and get it.
He's not supposed to go back and get it. He's just supposed to slow past it down.
God.
That's his lane. He's just supposed to cut him off, slow him down. So he's not going 1,000 miles an hour.
Wow.
That's his rule.
Wow. Sammy. Sammy the goalie.
That one, I'm with you 100%.
Pull out a sleeping bag.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
100% on the goaltending on that play. It's terrible.
Yeah. Get their stick out.
Yeah. Jam them.
Anyways, back to, I have a hard time blaming Sheldon for the overtime goal or whatever, but I think
attention to detail.
I know. And I think after so many years here, and maybe when he's the head coach of the Penguins next year, he'll be even better. But like, just to me, there's just too many, like with a lot of these guys on this team, there's just too many scars. And it's time that you have to change it.
Even if they change Sheldon, like Sheldon right now with his playoff record, he's low-hanging fruit.
In what way? I think a team would scoop him up?
To let him go. No, to let him go.
Yeah. So what's...
Is that enough?
Here's what I see where the Leafs are at right now. This, to me, is a period of feeling things out. Like, feeling out what does Keith Pelley want to do with Brendan Shanahan? And maybe they don't want to fire a coach because they don't know who's going to be making the decisions above that. So, there's some delay on making decisions with Keith while they decide what to do above him. I think you're feeling that process out. To go back to an earlier conversation, I think you're feeling things out with Marner and Tavares and feeling things out with other teams to see if other things are out there. Like right now, people want action. This to me is a time where there's going to be a lot of like, what are we doing here? What's available?
Yeah.
What are our options?
Processes?
What are our options?
I don't see anything blowing up Thursday. Do you?
You don't think? Well, let's talk about Brandon Shanahan. His name has come up a lot.
Yeah.
I think people talked about the Shana plan, the time it's had to have success. It hasn't had the success.
Yeah.
A new, Keith Pelley's taking over to MLSE.
Well, what is the mandate? Like, what is Keith Pelley right now? Like, why did MLSE decide that he needed Keith Pelley?
Presumably to make MLSE money, whatever that takes.
Oh God, it's a machine, man. It's making money.
I think they'll be okay with money.
Right?
Seems like they got a lot of that.
I'm sorry, the two of you don't think money
they want to make
is
money.
an MLSE
No.
issue.
It's to make sure that the cash cow keeps pushing,
right?
For sure, but it's also I got to make the Toronto Maple Leafs a priority to win now.
Yeah, sure.
So
that'd be a money
What does
maker.
that mean now? So right now he's got to decide on Brendan Shanahan.
Mm-hmm.
You think he's made the decision?
Yeah. Don't you? Or do you wait for the result and then?
There's so many. It's kind of complex because it's like, and Elliotte wrote about this or said it in 32 Thoughts about if you let him go, do you go get another president? Do you need another president now that Keith Pelley's kind of the president?
Yeah.
Right?
That'd be embarrassing. They're just like,
so
fire you.
Right?
Your job. We didn't need that job at all.
They're replacing you with a ghost. With
No.
literally no
So that's another question too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Of course.
Like you didn't. We know at MLSE in general, there's a lot of chefs over there.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of jobs, a lot of chefs. You just added another one in Keith Pelley. So
You're trying to streamline.
Are they in it together now? Keith and Brendan? Is their mandate to work together to try to win a Stanley Cup?
Well, I believe
how is it going to work?
Yeah, the change in reporting, I believe, when he came in was that Masai and Brendan would report directly to him.
Yeah.
So he certainly is more involved in the operations. And that's going to dictate what happens from there.
So,
but it's very telling because, like I've said before, lots of experience in watching these and doing these media year-end avails. They always say, like, I follow the Leafs media PR Twitter account or whatever, and they'll say, this person is going to be addressing on this day.
Mm-hmm.
Sheldon Keefe and select players will be available tomorrow. For the one they said about, they didn't include any names. They said management.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference than normal. And it's a very different thing for them to do it on the Thursday as opposed to doing it the same day.
Yeah.
To have 4 days difference, I mean, that tells you that
They gotta
something's
figure some
coming.
things out.
Doesn't strike me
Something's
as
coming.
a guy that just needs to say something to appease anybody. That he's so far beyond that. So, I kind of feel for him because he's in a no-win situation. If he fires Brendan Shanahan on Thursday, then it's a knee-jerk reaction to the noise.
No, I don't think that'll be the perception at all, Kyper. I mean, this has been.
I actually think it's tone deaf if you don't react to the noise at this point.
I think it is.
You think it'd be a knee-jerk reaction?
He's got another year on his deal. Okay, so what is the hurry here?
Because it's been 10 years of nothing.
No, I get
Kyper.
that. See, that's appeasing you, Sammy,
No,
because
but-
you're making the noise that we've had enough.
Yeah.
Get rid of him.
Yeah.
And it's not the way it works.
But
All right.
if you're looking
Okay.
to make money, the people who are going to pay the money are the ones who
They're
are
gonna
upset.
pay it in 2 weeks from now, a month from now, if you decide, or next September, you might want to make a change. Like, there's no rush here. And, there's still business to be had here. Like, there's a draft. There's a lot of how many people are you going to fire?
Let me just
one guy?
Let me just do a summation
everybody
of
else?
this show. You are fine with keeping Shanahan, no rush
I'm
on that.
not.
Hold on.
I'm
And you're
not.
fine with Sheldon Keith actually a little bit, and don't think that Marner was bad.
No. I'm just
It's all
saying
fine.
it's very complex.
I know it's
I'm
complex.
just saying
That's what I'm saying.
he
It's a
wants
feeling of-
he wants him fired because he's jilted. He's been left at the altar again,
100%.
and it's not the way it works. That's all. I think
Well, it's not the way it works. In what?
in business, in
Wait.
NHL business,
Okay,
you
but,
make
I mean,
decisions
teams
because
fire
you
guys all the
so-
time for way less than this.
Not presidents as quickly, though. This is like a new sort of.
And he's not just any president either. He's Brendan Shanahan.
I understand
There's
all
a
that.
different feel.
He is Brandon
Okay,
Shanahan.
it's a different feel.
I get it.
So are you if you fire him Thursday, are you replacing him right away? Are you not replacing him right away? Who's going to be now the decision maker? Are you ready now to give it to Brad Treliving?
No.
Okay, so who's coming in?
No
It's
idea.
one thing to
That's why you
fire
got
Sammy,
Keith Pelley.
and it's another thing to replace. Many ways Sheldon got to keep his job because you couldn't find anybody better last year.
But that's
And
a
then
little
you gave him a
different this
2-year
year.
deal.
Yeah, the 2-year deal, talk about appeasing the
So-
masses, was to quiet the hordes from, why isn't he extended, yada, yada.
So I'm just saying that I don't expect anything real Thursday to happen.
Really? So you think Brandon Shanahan will be coming out on Thursday? Why wouldn't they say President Brandon Shanahan will be
I
addressing
said
the
it's a
media?
feeling out time. I think they're figuring things out
I'm with
themselves.
him.
Like,
I'm with him.
what do we want to do
Hey,
here?
We're
Just got the info.
reevaluating. So there's so you on the top of our show change. Okay,
Has to be changed.
buddy, I can name you 10 things that could be enough to change and for Brendan to keep his job.
Yeah.
Okay. So now he goes to Keith Pelley and he says, listen, we can't run it anymore. Okay. What does that mean? Well, it means that we're going to trade Mitch Marner. Okay. Is that enough?
No.
Oh, no, we're going to trade Mitch Marner and we're going to fire the coach. Is that enough? Okay, Brendan, you get to stay then? right?
I mean,
No,
if
we're
you
gonna get
have
new
a guy with his
goalie.
back against the wall and he has to chop
we're
heads
gonna
off
get-
till he keeps
yeah.
his job, he's going to chop heads off.
We're going to
so
we're going to get it. But where's the cut line for Brendan? in
what's
that meeting?
enough to keep
What's
Brendan?
enough to keep my job?
But at the end of the day, with this organization, with the lack of accountability that there's been since day one, and all these guys getting everything they've ever wanted before they did anything for the team, all of that has been underneath Shanahan. And if you just trade this guy and fire the coach, if he's still there,
I'm not arguing
nothing
with that.
changes.
I'm not
it's
arguing.
the same.
I'm
it's
not.
the same thing, just different guys around it.
But
I would say that-
it's valid, and there's no argument against it. I'm just telling you the different scenarios
can I
that can
tell
go
you
behind the scenes.
How heartbreaking it is for me to be having this conversation. There's few things that excited me more as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan than when Brendan Shanahan got hired 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, we got Brendan Shanahan as the president. Here
Yeah.
come the Cups. And
Yeah.
it just hasn't worked.
Like-
and it breaks my heart that Brendan Shanahan is one of my favorite hockey players of all time.
Same.
To have this conversation, it kills me. But at some point here, you got to have a systematic change.
For me, like, how far is Brendan in with Keith Pelley to really, truly have a conversation? I know they've had some dinners together, but how deep are you already into, hey, tell me about your 10 years here,
Yeah.
right? And in great detail.
There's actually a fair
Right?
point to be made that there's a
So-
lot of
so tell me.
information to
Hopefully
change
they had a
hands.
So-
lot of dessert and coffee in
so-
that dinner.
Tell me about Nick Foligno. Tell me about that trade. Was that you? Was that Kyle Dubas? Did you believe your scouts? Or no, that was just you. So, a lot of things are going on behind the scenes right now, and I don't think anything's been definitively defined yet. Does that make sense?
Was that an hour?
I guess.
I don't know. Usually when he plays the music, he's wrong. Derek Brandale. Did he get it right today?
Timing's right.
Oh, I felt good, boy. I feel better.
Oh my gosh, that's
I
a
gotta
fast
tell you,
hour.
I don't. I'm more confused
All
than
right,
ever.
the good news is we're still at it when we go national, and we'll welcome in Elliotte Friedman, 32 Thoughts, Hockey Night in Canada. He'll give us some goods on the Toronto Maple Leafs moving forward. New coach or not. We're back after these words. All right, let's kick off the National Hour on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour, Real Kyper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. No hesitation now, man, because we are just crammed.
Here we go.
Here we go. Elliotte Friedman, Hockey Night in Canada, 32 thoughts. Kicking off the second round, Elliotte.
Wait. I got to tell you, I listened to the last hour.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm surprised there's anything left of you guys to do another hour. That was one intense hour.
Oh, my
What's
gosh.
great now is we can just hand the ball to you and let you run, Freach.
Holy smokes.
Exit meetings for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Never a dull moment.
No. Oh, I mean, you know, I don't know how you guys feel, but I just think that the more I think about it, it's not going to happen the way we all think. There is going to
the
be
Sammy McKee way, where you just fire everybody right away.
Whether or not that happens, there's going to be something that they do or something that pops up that none of us are going to see coming. There's going to be a curveball here.
So you had mentioned in your 32 thoughts that you thought maybe that the MLSE could eliminate the president's jobs of basketball and hockey.
I didn't say like I don't like to touch the basketball stuff because I really don't know it as well as I did years ago. But I do think that is one thing that has been discussed is the possibility that it's a GM who reports directly to Pelley.
So that would eliminate Brendan Shanahan, you're saying entirely.
I'm saying that it would eliminate his role if they choose to move on from Shanahan. I do think, I mean, look, like you guys work for Rogers, I work for Rogers. We know this company. And I will say this, I was told today across ownership, there is not unanimity in that belief, but it has been something, as we talked about, it has been something that's been discussed is do they need this extra layer, this highly paid extra layer of management?
And do you think then that they would wait for a decision like that to make the concurrent decisions, whether it be on the coach or a trade of someone who makes a lot of money?
Well, look, I look at it this way. Like I don't think you should be making any decisions on Brendan Shanahan based on what you think of the position. You're keeping or not keeping Brendan Shanahan based on you think how he's done the job. I think if they decide that they're not going to keep Brendan Shanahan, I'm curious to see if they keep the position. And again, as I was told today, that has been discussed, is do they need that role? But look, I mean, you're not going to be making any big moves in the near future anyway, so you have time. But, you know, watching that Keith media conference today, man, like I'm a human being. That was a tough media conference to watch. When you hear that a coach has kind of been given the option of do you want to be part of the exit interviews or not? Like, I mean, you guys have been around. You guys both played at a high level. Like, what do you think what does that mean to you?
I think it's pretty clear what it means.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a decision that's been made there on Sheldon, but maybe they do want to wait to see maybe the new president, or if they did hire one, would say, I actually really like the guy. Why'd we get rid of him? He's better than who's available, you know?
Well, I think that's actually, if you were to go back to last year, that's kind of what True Living did. When he got hired, he looked around, he got to know, he spoke with Sheldon, but he looked around and he kind of thought that the other options that were out there were not as good as Keith. You know I'm in the minority on this one, and I really heard this today. I thought, considering everything that happened this year, Keith did actually a pretty good job.
I agree.
Now, I think they had this kind of year at the wrong time. Like, people don't want to hear anymore. They overcame injuries on defense, didn't goal. People are just like, they lost again in the first round. That's all I care about. I think if Keith goes somewhere else, I think he'll do well. But I looking at him today and listening to him today, it struck me as a guy who thinks that his runway here is over.
Do you think if there's a chance that they do get rid of a Brendan or the president role, that they just happily go to Brad Tree Living now and just have Brad report to Keith Pelley?
I think that's a possibility. I think that's one of the things they discussed. But like I said today, Nick, someone told me today that they don't think the entire ownership is unanimous on that idea, but there are some people who think.
Are we talking Bell and Rogers
and Tannenbaum? Like,
but Larry's on his way out.
But he's still there, and he's still there, and he's still got a voice. I was just told it's not unanimous, but it has been discussed. It has been, like,
Larry's still there dapping up the boys after wins.
Yeah, like,
he's in it.
Like, Keith Pelley, and as someone else said to me, like, he is the president of MLSE and he likes to be involved, but it is a big job. So we'll see where they go. But I think all of these different options are on the table.
Question, and I know this is a bit of a curveball. We'll bring it back in one sec. But the Keith thing, there's all the rumors about Dubas in Pittsburgh and what's going on. Like he wanted to fire an assistant, and they got rid of one, I believe. But Sullivan and him maybe were at odds.
I don't think Mike Sullivan's going anywhere.
No Sheldon Keefe to Pittsburgh.
And I don't think Cooper's going anywhere either.
I don't think so. I don't think so, Nick. Boy, Julian Brisebois certainly looked like he slammed the door on that last week.
Yes.
But I don't believe Sullivan's going anywhere. I know that I had one guy who called me on the weekend and says, okay, here's my prediction. It's Sullivan to New Jersey, it's Berube to Toronto, and it's Keefe to Pittsburgh. And I'm like, I understand why that makes sense to a lot of people, but I'm under the impression that Sullivan and Dubas, for however they may have felt about the assistant coaches, I've heard they're on the same page about going together.
There is a sense that Ottawa went a little cheap with Travis Green. Maybe takes Berube out.
I don't think Berube's going to Ottawa. I heard on the weekend.
No, it's
going to be Green. It's going to be Green.
But Berube would be looking at 5x5.
I can tell you, Sens fans are not happy.
I saw that today. I guess I think I've learned over the years that I've seen coaching hires that were widely praised and turned out to be a disaster, and I've seen coaching hires that were panned and turned out to be really good.
Yeah.
I think Travis Green. I think he's a better hire for Ottawa than I think some of the people are giving credit
agree
for.
with you there, yeah.
I think that
I like Travis.
I like
I do
Travis,
too. I
and
think
I'll
he's
tell
a
you
good
this:
coach.
Travis can be, and I say this positively, Travis can be a bit of a prick, and they need that there.
But I feel like in Ottawa, there was a sense when you got the new owners spent all this money and that they were going to be an in the limelight team and they'd get a name, they'd get, not that Travis isn't a name, but Berube right now is the sexy big name or someone that, they would feel inspired by. I don't feel like they're inspired.
Could the push on Keith out quickly be because they're in a race for Berube with New Jersey?
Nick, I do believe that. I believe that New Jersey has real interest in Berube, and if Toronto wants him, they better get moving. I agree. I do believe.
What about that New Jersey job? You think like a Jay Woodcroft might be an option there? Or?
I've heard they've spoken to a ton of people.
Yeah.
I just think, and I've been saying this for a couple days, and eventually I'm going to be right about this. If you want Craig Berube, you better make the call.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have multiple people.
There has to be a reason why Berube's waited this long. I think it was to wait for Toronto.
Did you see the awkward biz question on TNT the other night?
Yeah. I got to tell you, I would not. Did you ever fight Berube? Did you ever fight him?
Bill McCreary saved my life one time.
Did you ever receive punches from Berube? That's what we're asking.
He was coming after me 1,000 miles an hour, and Bill McCreary just turns around and he throws him out of the game and suspends him 10 games.
Oh, my.
For coming off the bench.
Really?
Beautiful.
Oh,
I'm like, boy, Bill, you saved me.
If he ever gave me that look, I'd go running as far as I can.
And we were teammates in Hershey.
I got, like Nick, I've seen you interact with him before. I would defer to you on this one. You guys were peers. You know each other better. I got to think, put it this way, I got to think he would be very intrigued by the Devils because I think a lot of people think the Devils are on the cusp of something big. But, someone said to me today, do you think that Toronto is really a good job? I said, absolutely I do, because the rewards are
I know.
enormous.
We've all been there. We've all been there. Everybody talks about, hey, you want to win a cup here.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately it doesn't happen for a lot of us. But, I will say this, that it's not for everybody, though.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This market is not for everybody. And it's tricky. And as Sheldon found out over the years, it's calculated what you want to say, when you want to say it, how you want to say it, because you got guys like you and Sammy critiquing every last second, and I got to put up with it daily. But that's it's a tough job.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody, but if I was good enough to be an NHL coach, I would love to be the coach of Toronto Maple Leafs.
Do you think that a new president or a new authority figure in management would make it easier to go to John Tavares and Mitch Marner and talk about their no trade clauses?
No, I don't. And here's why. Someone called me today and they brought up a good point. I wish I would have remembered this. First of all, with Marner, he's represented by Darren Ferris. Darren Ferris's history is I take my guys right to unrestricted free agency. That's his philosophy, and he does that in a lot of cases. You heard what Mitch Marner said today. Ultimately, like he was given the no move clause, and he can use it as he sees fit. If the Maple Leafs want to play hardball with him and say, okay, that's your choice, but you're not going to get the 8th year here, and you're not going to get the same offer. I think one of the things that the Maple Leafs have to prove, Justin, is that they can hardball somebody in a negotiation. That hasn't always happened, and that's been an issue for them. But like the thing is, if Marner, like if I know Darren, and I've dealt with him a lot over the years, he's going to tell Marner, you go right to free agency. Yeah. That's what I believe. That's what you do.
What a year that would be.
And the only thing for Marner that I know people got upset by his quote today about, I don't even know what it was exactly. It doesn't bother me either. And you know what? In a lot of ways, like Marner should be a guy, like you would think if it worked out properly, he should be a god in this town. It's like, he's a Toronto kid who's playing for the Leafs. He cares a lot. I know people think he doesn't try. I think that's BS. I think his problem is that he's wired too tight, to be honestly, in the playoffs. But I think he does care, and I think he does try. For me, the biggest question is, if I was around him, I would just be asking, do you really, do you think, is it worth going through all of this again? Because it you can see the frustration, and you see how much it hurts him. I just wonder about that.
I can appreciate Darren Ferris wanting to be an agent that wants to take him to but it doesn't have to be that way. You could speed up the process. We know he's looking for a raise. Yep. We know he's a legitimate 100-point guy every year.
Yep.
The number is the number, right? The cap's going up.
Yep.
You tell me what the number is, Elliotte, for a guy like his stature. Is it 12?
He's going to want at
is
least
12
Willie.
and a half?
He's going to want at least Willie.
11 and a half, 12.
12, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you right now, I know there's teams out there that have already put calls in for Mitch Marner.
I believe that.
Right?
I believe that.
So you don't need to wait another year. He's not getting his money here. The Leafs won't stroke a check for $100 million for the next 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So go and do the deal now.
Yeah.
And he'll happily take the 8 years off a new team.
And I think if you look at
the deal's this summer for Mitch Marner.
You know what? And I agree with you, because if Toronto wanted to play hardball, they would say you're not getting that 8th year here. Yeah. The thing is, and Nick, and you know this, and this is part of me, what part of the problem is with this whole situation, is that the egos get involved. And there needs to be somebody here that if...
Whose ego?
Like, I think there's egos of the...
Not Mitch?
For what? For what? He's going to get his money. He's going to get it somewhere.
Well, but the thing is, like, don't you think there's a little bit of this is, I'm not going to let them force me out. I'm going to do this on my own terms?
Well, he's not going to go to a team he doesn't want to go to when he's a year away from unrestricted free agency.
But if the decision is we're going to wait a year and not go anywhere until then.
But it makes no sense, Elliotte, if he gets the number that he wants from a team that he wants to play for.
Okay, but at this point in time, I don't believe they've shown any interest in doing that.
The Leafs?
No. The Marner.
Oh, but that's a formality.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, it's a formality.
When it comes to Marner, I trust you 100%.
If he
You're
gets,
closer to that than I am.
If he gets a number from a place that he can envision him being in the next 8 years, the deal gets done this summer.
Okay. So the Leafs would have to be open to letting teams negotiate with Darren Ferris.
100%.
Yeah, I think they would.
100%. It's open. It's open.
And
like, figure out the teams that would trade for him, which are the teams that could sign him long term, and which are the teams that interest him.
Yeah, give us a list.
That's it.
Well, sure. That's literally what I have here.
But to this point, and I will, again, Nick, I will defer to you on this one. To this point, they've shown no interest in doing that. And I think that that's what I would do. If I was the Maple Leafs, I would go to him and say, look, where do you want to go?
Yeah.
And
we'll do whatever we can to make this deal
100%.
happen.
You know, you look at teams who would want offense, who might have something to trade, who are competitive. You think of a team like Nashville, a team like Vegas could have potentially say, you want a guy, Carolina
Justin,
Islanders.
I think there would be 29 teams looking at him.
The more I've thought about it, I would give Mitch Marner the money you're talking about.
It won't be hard to find, I think, a deal.
11.5. Yeah.
And now here's the other part of that, and this is a very big part of that, guys. Last summer, when they had Willie out there before they signed him, they told people they were not losing this deal.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting a defenseman that they considered equal to Nylander's status as a forward, or they weren't making it. Do you think the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I would be if I was in their shoes because I could sell it as creating the cap room, the Maple Leafs will have to be willing potentially to lose a Marner deal?
Yeah, and I think when you say lose a Marner deal, it maybe you're not factoring in the value of the space you get and what you do with it, right?
That's what I mean.
So you trade the guy and you get back, it's a defenseman and it's whatever, a 20-goal guy. You say, we got worse. But then you're left with another $5 million to spend and you add another player. So cap space is a weapon. It is an asset that you can turn into a player. So you can justify it to yourself that way if you can't go.
Well, that's how you do justify it. But I think last year when they were talking about this, they didn't like that idea.
Right. Yeah.
Now they're going to have to be more interested in that idea. But
the harder one for me is maybe going to your captain and saying, you got to help us out here.
I can't see any way he does it.
But just wouldn't it be a miserable experience for him? I understand that. I agree. I don't think he would either. He's from here. He's got family here. I'm sure he'd love to be here longer. All these things.
He can still play. He can still score 60 points.
He's still like he had a huge amount. People I understand he may not be an $11 million guy anymore, but it's only one more year at that number, and he's still.
But you need the space. You could use that space too.
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can't come back with all four of them. So the question is, does Marner allow you the flexibility if you want to go down that road? And if not, then what do you do?
You could revisit Tavares by next trade deadline too, if you want to upgrade.
You're going to say, hey, for 2 months, will you go play for Chicago? And we'll do this, whatever, have you back. I know that never happens, but.
Ambassador role. $500,000 a year for 20 years on the back end.
What are you expecting Thursday out of
that is a
management?
I'm sure we'll get clarity on Keith. I'm sure we'll get clarity on what the structure, at least who's coming back or who isn't. Nick, one thing I'm trying to figure out is there anything they're up to right now that we just haven't figured out yet?
I had some people say to me, would they ask the NHL about Coach Quenneville?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that specifically, but I would bet there's things like that going on. 100%.
Well,
outside of Quenneville?
Yeah, I bet you they're looking around. Who?
Babs.
Who can we go out there and get?
Yeah.
Who would our targets be?
Do you think the league's ready to let Quenneville back in?
I get mixed messages on it. Number one, I'll say this, Nick. I don't think talking about it. I don't think them talking about it is good for them. I don't think Bettman likes that.
Quenneville, going public.
Yes, I don't think that's good for them. I don't think Bettman likes that. I have sensed at times that the league has felt that they have that Bowman and Quenneville faced a very significant punishment, and that there was time that they'd be allowed to explain themselves and get another chance, but it's never happened. So at this point, so my answer to that, Nick, is it waivers. There have been times I thought they would be coming back, and there have been other times I've thought that the league just isn't ready. But the one thing I've been kind of told by several different people is they don't think it's a good idea for these guys to have public campaigns for it.
In terms of other people potentially for the Leafs organization, are there any players out there that you think would interest Toronto? I know you had mentioned on your podcast today, I thought Seth Jones came up.
That's more me wondering about that.
Okay, yeah.
Well, you know what? You look at the free agent defensemen. First, for one thing is, I'm curious on this blue line. Are they going to bring back Edmondson? Are they going to try to extend McCabe?
He would be. He's at 3-2 right now, Edmondson.
Well,
he's going to get a raise.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
he's not going to take a pay cut after pretty much showing people that he could still play.
Yeah, I would be curious to see what that would look like, but I bet you they have interest in bringing him back. I think they're probably going to try to. I think they're going to try to extend McCabe, and I would do that too. I thought he played great for them. So, I think they go after a Tanev or a Montour or a Brett Pesce.
Tree Living will go right back, and they need. And I've said this for 2.5 years now. They need 2 defensemen.
Yeah, and he'll go after them.
They need not 1 but 2. So you go get Tanev, and you go get one other one, and you got a different look.
I could see Montour or Pesce being big on their radar.
So how does the Wall's
and
last
a goalie?
Does Wall's last injury, like, all bets are off on Joseph Wall right now?
You know what? First of all, Nick, he's signed to a great contract. He's at $775 for another year.
Great backup.
Well, I really think they wanted him to prove that he was going to be their number 1 guy. But now the biggest question is if he can stay healthy. Look, Samsonov to me today, that said that, if he wants term, he's not really going to get it here. So, and do you see them coming back with Samsonov Wool next year? I think it's going to be Wool someone else.
It needs to be a veteran. Needs to be someone with some cachet.
I'll tell you this: at the deadline, I heard they were asked a lot about Hildeby. So that leads me to think that he's going to be a player, but I don't think that's yet.
No, you watch. Everybody's going to start digging up Markstrom to Toronto.
Yeah,
you watch, but I can't see it.
Out of the frying pan into the fire from Calgary to
Toronto. Calgary wouldn't trade Tanev here. How are they going to trade Markstrom to Brad Tree Living?
Yeah. Well, tomorrow is the NHL draft lottery.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
And does that affect things on your schedule at all? Does anything happen around that time in terms of GMs discussing things, or what's happening this time of year behind the scenes?
Well, now at least people will know where everybody's picking.
Yeah.
One of the teams that really interests me about where they end up in this lottery is Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could be a really fascinating team this offseason.
Yeah.
They got a lot of prospects already, and you can always add another one. You can never have too many. But I wonder. I look at them and a first round pick, and I wonder what they could cook up.
They got a ton of picks. Is Utah going to get weird and try to make a splash with the new owner?
That's a good one. They got a ton of picks. Ottawa's got a decision to make. They got to decide: are we keeping our pick or are we paying the penalty?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another one that.
God,
that's tough.
That's
a really
tough
one there. I don't like that one for the Senators at all. But there's, I think at least we'll have an idea of where everyone is. You're right. Mm-hmm. That's going to be one nervous lottery tomorrow night. That's Celebrini, man. He is something else. And San Jose, I don't know what Lucky Charms are out in Northern California, but they're digging up all of them right now.
Well, they should be good in 8 to 9 years, so hopefully Celebrini enjoys the beach.
Nice. We're getting a few text messages from Vancouver and Edmonton wondering if Hockey Night in Canada will get canceled now that the Leafs are out, or will you keep going?
That's pretty funny. We're still going. I got to tell you something. So my buddies, I obviously grew up here. I have buddies who really love the Leafs, and they say I'm not enough of a Leaf homer. Yeah. And they were saying to me on Saturday night, they said to me, Elliotte, we've never seen this before. We actually thought you looked like you were going to cry on air. I started laughing. I said, you know me, I root for the Canadian teams. Yeah. I just want the Canadian teams to do so well. But that one was a gut punch for a lot of people. There's no question about that.
Go Canucks.
Who do you like?
Go Oilers.
Oilers, Canucks, who are you picking?
I like Edmonton still.
How do you, who's their goalie? Vancouver?
She loves.
Is he...
Buddy,
is he good enough?
He's confident.
That would be a hell of a story.
Oh, my God. Incredible story.
Hey?
Yeah, like the kid.
Patrick Waugh all over again.
Showed big brass ones last round.
Yeah.
So did DeSmith. Both of them.
We look forward to your coverage, my friend.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Fried.
Elliotte Friedman, Hockey Night in Canada, 32 Thoughts. We'll take a quick break. We'll bring back Sammy for game time, plus more from Real Kyper and Bourne. All right, let's welcome you back into the Real Kyper and Bourne show. We'll let Sammy take it away with a little game time.
It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app's latest odds to find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So we're on the precipice of the second round starting.
Yes.
Into the sad time in the playoffs already. Well, first of all, because the Leafs are usually out, so that's sad for me. But secondly,
Snap out of it.
one or two games a night now. When we were the start of the first round, it's like
playoffs,
100
Just
rounds,
one tonight.
100 games a night. There's action everywhere. It's electric, and now it's down to one or two a night. The Boston Bruins and Florida Panthers get their second round series started this evening. The series line on that is the Florida Panthers are massive favorites. They're minus 220 favorites to win that series, plus 180 for the Boston Bruins. Feels like that's the right number to me. And I mean, especially for tonight, one night off right into a second round series. But yeah, I don't know where you guys are at with that series, but it feels like it might be a quick one.
I do think it'll be a quick one. I think Florida's going to mop them.
You do.
Yeah, you guys know how I've talked about the Boston Bruins. I don't think they're that good.
Swayman is you cannot tell me that Swayman's going to go from that
You're right.
to a sweep.
You're right. I actually, when I think of their team, because I'm just
He
wired
was-
this way, I fail to take the goal in sometimes.
He was like off the charts.
He's rock solid. I don't think he made a mistake the whole series. Can you name one
100
bad goal he
Yeah,
gave in?
no, he did make a mistake when he completely mishandled the puck behind the net
Yeah,
in Game
he
7,
did.
and Mitch Marner had too much momentum going this way, and he picked up the puck, and everyone, in defense of Mitch Marner, everyone's tweeting out the screenshot of him like standing behind the net with the puck. He's going full speed
Yeah,
the
he had to
opposite
hit
way.
the
It's like,
brakes.
anyways, but yeah, he did make that mistake, but other than that, not really.
Pretty limited.
Yeah.
Did he have a bad goal against him?
I'm with you
I don't
though.
think so.
Like he stopped like what was the save percentage in the series? Like 650? 954, sorry.
950, I think.
950.
Yeah.
Like he was
He's good.
they got goalied.
Yeah, that's certainly part of it.
Uh,
So, okay, it's going to go 5 or 6.
So,
All right.
the other series, just quickly looking around here, Carolina and the Rangers. Obviously, the Rangers up 1-0 in that series. Still just minus 125 favorites. I think Carolina's got a comeback in them, plus 105. Colorado and Dallas tomorrow night getting underway. Boy, that is going to be a hell of a playoff series.
Yeah.
Colorado Avalanche, underdogs, plus 105 going into that series. Vegas likes Dallas. And finally, our favorite series, our National Hour series, Edmonton Oilers versus the Vancouver Canucks. The Vancouver Canucks are prohibitive underdogs heading into that series. Minus 260
Wow.
for the Edmonton Oilers if you want to bet on them to win that series.
I
plus
think this is
210.
going to be a very close series.
Just so people know, we're going to be all over this.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
This
that's
hour
the
is
National
going to be
Hour of that series, basically.
Vancouver Oilers.
Yeah. So,
Talk.
I mean, when we watch the third period in the morning, of course, because all the games will start at 10 p.m. But yeah.
Well, even tonight, it's like 8 p.m.
Why 8 p.m.?
American networks. That's why.
What's wrong with 7 p.m.?
I
7
don't know.
p.m. is an excellent time for a hockey game.
Why do we let them do that to us?
I don't know. It's late. It's just a little bit too late. I get a little tired, dozy in the third period.
Can't do
8
10:30
is
p.m.?
I thought 8 was like when I was a little kid. That's what 8 was.
So yeah, I guess that was. Do you want me to do a quick Conn Smythe check in here? Give me 1 second as I pull it up. The Conn Smythe favorite at the moment is Connor McDavid, of course, plus 600. Matthew Tkachuk, the second favorite, plus
What do you have?
1200.
8
9
points?
in
Yeah.
5.
9.
Nathan McKinnon, plus 1200.
Yeah.
Shesterkin,
And-
16-1. Bobrovsky, 16-1. Panarin,
Not-
20-1. Kale McCarr, 20-1.
Not to like bring this back
Freddie
to the
Anderson's
Leafs,
still
but
there.
I will this one time, Sammy, on our
Okay.
national hour. I'll bring it back to the Leafs.
Oh, we just
but,
talked to
you know,
Fried for an hour.
look at like the Stars and their points. Like, a lot of them on the power play. From
Yeah.
like David to Tkachuk. Like once you get into even strength points, they're all around like 3. It's that tight.
Zach Hyman
5
had
on 5.
7 goals, 4 even strength, 3 power play. 3 power play goals, pretty good.
Okay.
Nichushkin had 3 power play goals.
Yeah.
And so I'm just quickly looking down the list here. outside of the 20-1 guys, there's not a ton. Maybe if you think, I got nothing else. Carter Verhaeghe, 28-1. There's a long shot for you. He had a good first-round series, been clutch, scores a lot of big goals. The narrative, they love that. Little Conn Smythe
My
action.
Freddie Anderson pick's not looking great.
I mean, he's got better odds than Carter Verhaeghe. He's 20-1 still.
Doesn't sound like Sam Bennett will play tonight.
No?
Did they rule him out, or I
Haven't heard.
don't know.
Anyways, that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds to find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Let's see what I got on Bennett here.
I don't think we're looking
Won't
at
play.
won't play, but I don't think he's dealing with, say, like a Kadri situation a few years ago, and remember he broke a finger.
Yeah, Bennett took a slapper in the hand.
He took a slapper, but I didn't hear anything on like
Didn't Naz score an overtime winner with a broken finger?
with a.
Against the
Didn't he
Lightning?
take a pin out? Didn't he have a pin and then pulled it out or something weird like that?
I do. That is ringing a bell. Yes.
Something, but I don't think that's what I heard on Sam Bennett. So I think he's going to see time in this series, but I don't know how early. But
Nice to have a guy like that a little bit hampered because he puts the licking on
he does.
people.
Yeah,
He does.
He's a factor.
I'm sure if you're
Bit of
David
a nail gun.
Pasternak after getting hit by Joel Edmondson last game, you're
Yeah.
like, I'm fine with
Yeah.
Bennett being out.
Yeah, that was one of the more beautiful hits of the
Monstrous.
playoffs,
Yeah.
for sure.
Before we broke for the weekend, I did mention that Winnipeg may be looking for a new coach. That came to fruition today with the announcement of Rick Bowness and his retirement. Thoughts, JB?
Yeah, I think we have a clip.
Yeah, we do
have
have a
bonus
clip.
on?
Okay.
Let's start with that. And
Let's
then
go to
we'll
that.
Go in.
You talked me out of retirement 2 years ago, man. Judy and I are all set to call it a day at then. But if I was going to come back to coaching, I couldn't have picked a better place to come back to and to finish my career with. There's a big draw here, obviously, because of our previous experience here. We know the people that run the organization are fantastic people. This is a great organization, and it's a great city to play hockey in. That I knew. And we have a tremendous, passionate following here, and so I couldn't have picked a better place to come back to and to finish my career. We've got great players. I've been fortunate to have a great coaching staff and all the accolades, both the All-Star game and the nomination. Man, it's the players and it's the coaches that got me there. And like I said a couple of times, how many coaches can take the month of November off and still be where we are? The coaches and the players deserve all the credit for that. But yeah, it's been my pleasure to come back. It's been a real honor for me to coach the Winnipeg Jets again.
Almost 4 decades, 38 years, one of the longest serving coaches in history.
You don't coach that long in the league without so many people liking you.
I was gonna
so many
say-
people wanting you around.
As far as approval ratings go,
Yeah.
you rarely find anyone that's not like, he is my favorite guy I've ever met. Like,
Just
people love him.
100% approval rating. I don't know, maybe Kyper knows of a guy or two, but I've never heard a bad word about the
No.
man. So,
No.
you know, he did great things with the Jets this year. Shame it ended the way it did, but I think they probably exceeded expectations from the start of the season to how they finished.
I love the way it ended last year, where he just went scorched earth,
Which
killed
more
him.
respect to him.
Yeah, exactly. Bang on. He said what he needed to say. They kept him around, and he coached him to another good year. And unfortunately, they ran into a buzzsaw.
Oh God, did they ever?
That's
Listen, 2 years from now, he's consulting. Jacques Martin behind the NHL bench
Yeah.
temporarily.
No way.
That's a brand new gig that Jacques
Consultant.
invented now.
Yeah.
Consulting.
coaching consultant.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
Oh, yeah.
my advice is get rid of him. Put me in there.
Hey, I've told you this before, I think, but when I was with the Toronto Marlies, after a game, 3 guys walked in the office, and it was Jacques Lemaire, Jacques Caron, and someone else. And I was like, what are they doing here? And someone's like, they work for the Leafs. Like, they're consultants. That's a good job. You just kind of hang around and tell people what you think because you know stuff. That's a great gig to have.
A consultant? Yeah.
Consultant.
Until you get knocked out, and then you got to justify your existence.
Yeah, what do you do?
What exactly do you
I
do
say stuff about things.
around here?
Yeah.
Also, I think Bowness was a nice hire for a guy like Mark Chipman, who, you know, great relationship, I think, with the community. Like, it seems like a small town. I've just heard such good things about the ownership and the way that community is all together, and Bowness is a good representative of
So
that.
now that we've added Winnipeg to the list of needing a new coach, like, what are we at? 6?
It's so
7?
funny. Everyone's like, Berube's hired everywhere. Everyone's got
How many
him.
teams, Sammy?
I don't know. A few. for sure.
So
New
Ottawa,
Jersey?
New Jersey, Toronto,
Oh,
Winnipeg.
you fired
Whoa.
Sheldon? Easy, bud. Easy.
Yeah, easy.
I am
Wow.
ahead
There's
of
a
myself there.
family involved. What are you,
Listen,
biz?
I know them well too. I like
Hey,
them a lot.
What are you, biz? Just
Okay, Toronto is still
TBD.
filled.
TBD.
Ottawa, New Jersey, Winnipeg. Anything else? Anyone?
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Who's their interim? Bannister.
Drew Bannister.
Yeah. What about the Kings? He's a
LA.
Hiller was a interim. Right?
I would think LA's looking.
So there's a few. There's lots of jobs out there.
What did Columbus end up doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really pay a whole lot to Columbus. It's playoff time, buddy. I'm not watching.
No, I think they need one.
Think
No.
so?
I don't know.
I will say Columbus was remarkably irrelevant this year. The only time they ever came up was when they did something
Just now.
horrific.
Can I tell you something? I'm embarrassed we're talking about them right now.
I know,
so.
sorry, turn the page. All right.
Okay. Just thoughts. We talked about a little bit about watching Dallas shut down Vegas those last 8.5 minutes, and Ottinger
You watched it.
didn't look overly busy, but it still was a bit of a nail biter once you get into that one goal up with 10 minutes to go. But thoughts on a new Stanley Cup champion?
Dallas wins 4 of 5, after Vegas goes into their barn and wins the first 2. That's a pretty impressive feat. Wyatt Johnston, guys, this guy's a player. Like
He's 21.
Actually, you know what? He's not 21 yet. He turns 21 next
20.
week.
He's 20.
Yeah.
And you know who else is young too? Is that Thomas Harley?
Yeah.
He's another 21-year-old.
Yeah.
And the Ninja Turtle, Stankoven, with those big old shoulder pads. He's young. He's
Stankoven.
contributing. Yeah,
Meanwhile, Ben and Sagan, all right. I actually thought it was a bit of a turning point in the series when McNabb dusted the one guy and then Ben went,
Yeah.
So there is,
Lit him up.
and I picked Dallas to win the Stanley Cup, but easy. It's just one round.
Okay, that's pretty good.
But
They look pretty good.
is there a little? You worry about like the wear and tear on Ben and Sagan and Pavelski when it comes to like you need shorter series to make sure that you're an old guy.
I got to tell you, it's shocking. I played college against Pavelski. How is this guy still
Really?
playing? Yeah.
Yeah, you're old.
Oh, buddy,
Look at all
I
the gray
played
in your
golf
beard.
yesterday. I could barely walk around. Like, ugh, there were
Ottinger's
hills.
the key there for them.
What's
Like,
that?
Everybody, Ottinger.
Yeah.
Any goalie's the key for sure.
Yeah.
Can I bring it back to the Leafs for a national hour?
Oh, well, it's
No.
too late. Just keep doing it.
Chris Tanev's so good.
Yeah, he's good.
He's so good. He is a guy that if the Leafs have Tanev in that first round series, it's a different thing. He is so good.
I think you can get like $5 million.
Yeah, and I'd give it to him. I've watched him, a lot. Watched him a lot of Canadian teams, and I've watched that first round series.
Bet you Dallas to give it to
I bet. I don't know what his fancy stats are, but I bet you he's on the ice for a lot more goals than he's on against. Like he is a really great player.
He blocks an
Love
absurd
him.
amount of shots.
Love him.
Rangers, any surprise there at home? Game 1, Carolina, and
Hold
Freddie.
on. I know. Hand it over to this
Freddie lets in what was the game-winning goal to Panarin,
Just
the bread man.
Backbreaker.
Short side,
Here's what I'll
through
say.
him.
Here's what I'll say. It's a little different that it's happening in the second round. So, that's new for him. That's a new trick, but that's just quintessential. What I've always talked about him, where he is aesthetically one of the nicest goalies to watch in the
he's
league.
Beautiful goaltender.
Beautiful goaltender. Big, the way he moves around, smooth, but there's always one greasy one that sneaks through you and kills you. He's the opposite of clutch in those spots.
Yeah.
And I would when you see that go in and you're Rod, you're like, oh boy. Oh boy.
Let's go Chekhov up to. Is he healthy?
I was going to say, what's the chances you see another goalie in that series?
It's not impossible. I still think Freddie, if he just faces the puck and it hits him enough, that Carolina team controls so much of the play. Even the Rangers did win that game, but heavy control, or the play was heavily controlled for Carolina for long stretches. That series is far from over with a single Rangers victory.
I had mentioned last week too. I didn't like all this talk about Rod Brind'Amour's contract.
Yeah,
and
he
then
still doesn't have one though.
He doesn't. And last week there was reports about the owner Dundon pulling the contract off the
Pulling
table.
the contract. So he made him an offer and said he didn't decide quick enough?
Yeah.
Made him an offer he could refuse?
Yeah. That's literally it.
That's
the opposite of a godfather.
I don't think it's
Father-in-law
I don't think it's
offer.
$1 million that they're apart either.
Yeah, didn't
More
you say
than-
like
No,
didn't you say
less,
like
much
50K?
less. It's ridiculous. Somebody whispered to me it was ridiculous what they're nickel and diming over.
That's
But-
embarrassing.
I did hear today that the offer might be back on the table now.
Oh,
But like, I guess they just have the fact that he loves it there. He wants to be there. He's Mr. Hurricane. They have that in their back pocket.
They went to him. The Rangers went to him before Laviolette.
Really?
Yes, and
What about the
they
Leafs?
offered him 5, and he could have got 6 if he wanted with that owner there, Dolan.
Yeah.
And no interest. So Dundon knows he's not going anywhere. That's why this is playing out the way it's playing out.
That's such bad. Like, I mean, it's brilliant business, but in my mind, it's just such
it's
bad.
bad.
It's like, come
Keep
on.
dealing with people who he's such an important part of that
Yeah.
community.
He's
I will say,
cool.
I've dealt with Carolina a little bit. I had some discussions with him about doing some work for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
They like dorks. That's perfect for
they
you.
do. The first summer, it was like, there's not going to be money for this, but if it works out, we'll talk.
Yeah.
Like, there's not going to be money for this. What league is this? It's a baffling organization.
They're offering you an internship? Unpaid internship.
Okay, yeah, pass on that.
What? No way.
And Travis Green to Ottawa, I guess they just needed to lock something up now. I
What
mean,
does that mean?
I don't know. You didn't want to kind of wait it out here?
Did I?
And I mean, we're all in agreement. We do like Travis Green, but,
Yeah,
you know,
I do. But it felt to me like it was, this big fresh start where they didn't have the owner who, tried to save money on things, and you were going to get a name higher here. I don't think that you can say that Travis Green is a name. A couple people writing me about him, but why did they? The consensus is, why did they wait this long to get a guy with a .434 winning percentage as a head coach? Like, why were they? Maybe they thought they could have were waiting for a bigger name and settled, or doesn't feel like they got the guy they were after.
When you're the owner and it's like there's new flashy owners, and I heard you guys touch on this with Friedge, like, aren't you going to want to be like, here is big splash guy. Like, here they had brought in Jacques Martin as like the weird retro coach. That was the weirdest thing ever. And you're like, okay, first off season, here is Craig Berube. Here is
Quenneville.
There's here is
John Cooper.
I don't know.
Whatever it is. Yeah. It's,
like, you make the big time splash. It's like Travis Green. Okay. Like, is he?
I've liked him. I think he's defensively all right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
His
find
winning
him-
percentage isn't great. I don't know. Like, I know that's not everything. It's the teams
Yeah,
that
you
you
get bad
have or
teams.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I thought you could do a little better if you're Ottawa. But
Well,
anyways.
now I guess they focus on a trade.
And what does that mean?
Wow,
What does that look
they need to shake up this tree. Stales needs to shake it up.
So, decor, obviously.
I don't think they're going to commit to Jacob Chikrin, so
Would
they'll
that
move
be a
him.
potential landing spot? Would Marner want to stay in Ontario if they did a
they're not going to pay Mitch Marner 12.
no?
No,
And I don't think if you're the Leafs, like, I know
Sure.
interdivision stuff.
that feels
That, I mean,
that would be fun.
Watch him.
Oh, yeah,
watch
it'd
him
be
go
great.
win a cup with
yeah,
Ottawa.
it'd be great to see him win the Art Ross with Ottawa. I'd really feel great about all my takes then. That'd be awesome. Finally, the guy that gets him
scores
but he-
82.
He to get into the playoffs the first time ever, and
Yeah.
then we know what happens there.
All right, we got to talk about the big series here: Edmonton, Vancouver.
She loves going to kind of. Is it going to ring 12 midnight soon, or is he going to keep going?
I don't know, man. He's really confident. Game 6, he was spectacular for them.
Remember his comment last week? It's my time to shine.
Love
Like, it's
that.
so cool.
Yeah, you want a guy coming in just being like, what do I have to lose? This is all gravy. Let's go out there and have a good time. I think that's dangerous
So give me
for Edmonton.
Edmonton's power play versus Vancouver's penalty kill.
Do you know that their PK is garbage or something?
No, I don't. But I actually think it's pretty good.
If I was a Vancouver fan, I would be extremely worried
90% PK, 91.
that
Where was that in the league?
The Bruins and Oilers are
No.
95-2, and the
like
Oilers
regular
have not
season?
given
Yeah,
up.
no, Vancouver's penalty kill.
Yeah, in the postseason.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is the postseason.
Oh, the
They're-
postseason.
Yeah, they're at 90%.
Okay, how about during the regular season?
Boop. A new button. Toggle that again. They are at, Vancouver is
Seventh?
17th, 79.1. Yeah.
I thought it was better. I thought it was better than that.
I would just be very worried that, you get this great win in the first round where the focus of the team, it was very low scoring, low event, like these grinded out games. And then you just get hit
The
of a
circus
tidal
comes
wave.
to town.
Yeah, like you're just, yeah. Like,
The
you,
Oilers
like
are the best team
McDavid's
since
just firing
Knobloch's
them
taken over.
through Svielovs in the first game.
So
you
now-
lose 4-1. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, geez.
Yeah.
Now that we're out of round one, like for the last few years, it's been built up that everybody gets shot out of a cannon. It's the best hockey of the playoffs. Did we see that?
I actually think I like where you're going with this. No.
Did we see high octane? We saw some big hits. We saw some tight
No.
checking, though. Some people say it was like watching paint dry
It was
some
actually
games.
coaches had more of an influence on that first round than I can ever remember. I can't remember so many games where teams got 12, 13, 15 shots. Like it was tight checking
Yeah.
in the first round, which that's all you do as a coach is control that. And
There are some games I watched where it's like there's 5 goalies playing this.
no one can get
shift.
to the middle, Kim.
Nobody can get a shot through. We're seeing like 20 minutes, 3 shots on goal.
Well, how about the game that Vancouver ended up winning in their game 6 in Vancouver? My eyes were crossing for half that game. It was such a slog. And then they
Yeah.
hit with like a minute left. They trickle one over the goal line.
Meanwhile, Colorado and Edmonton are juggling and throwing bowling pins and flamethrowers out there, scoring 8 a night.
I
Like,
know.
they're a different beast.
They're really, I'm sorry to
Do
my
we have to
our
cap like
Vancouver
teams
brethren,
to
but
block shots like 15 a period?
You're only allowed 15 blocks.
Only
After that,
allowed
you have to
15
get out
blocks.
of the way.
Then you got to get out of the way. No? What do you think?
I think Commissioner would have a tough time getting that one through,
yeah,
but
commit to the what was it? Commit to the
commit
pain.
to the pain. That was Nashville's
Yeah.
plan. Just like get in the way, and they blocked a zillion shots. Can you get the defibrillator and old Petey? Get him a fresh start here, new round. Let's go, brother.
He just looks scared a lot of these games. There's just this look in his eye.
He just needs a night, right?
He needs one.
night when to get him going. And
Speaking of block shots, they announced the Selke finalists,
yes,
right? Barkov.
yes.
Who's the second one? Austin's
Austin
the third.
Matthews, yeah.
Austin Matthews and who?
Kopitar.
Probably Kopitar.
No, I don't think it's Kopitar.
I have that information.
Anyways, because Austin's in it because he blocks shots, right?
Block shots and takeaways. Tons. Jordan Stahl.
Stall.
Jordan
Yeah.
Stahl, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, two are Jordan Stahl and Barkov are like defense specialists, and Austin's a shot blocker.
Yeah, I think Jordan Stahl.
It's kind
is a
of weird
defensive
to me
role.
that a 69 goal scorer is up for a Selke. It's
I
kind
mean,
of weird for
Sergei
me.
Fedorov when he was doing it, and did Mike Modano win one or not? But he used to get
Taves won one. I think that like
Fedorov used to.
Fedorov won. Didn't he? Isn't he the only guy to ever win Selke and MVP? I feel like he's. He was unbelievable. He played defense sometimes.
Yeah.
One of the coolest hockey players ever, Sergei Fedorov. But yeah, Matthews is an elite defensive forward kipper. He's
Elite
really
shot
good.
blocker.
No, what are we? He's an elite.
Not gonna win
defensive
it.
No, he's not. But he's one of the
blocking shots.
You don't
He's one
watch
of the
the
three.
team.
He's one of the 3 best defensive forwards in the league. He scored 69
No, I
goals.
could think of more.
We do not agree.
He's really good.
No, he blocks shots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does. And that's a really good defensive thing that he does. And he scored 69 goals. And he played on a broken leg and the Bobby Bond, the first guy.
Yes.
Christ, I'm done.
And what did he say in his meeting? I got hurt. Or what was that? What was his?
He got hurt blocking so many damn shots. He's such a warrior.
All right.
Tony Reale right there.
We solved nothing in 2 hours. Our thanks to Elliotte Friedman for coming in. Sammy, get a good night's rest.
Thanks for
It's going to be a
nothing.
long week for you,
great,
Sammy.
great. Can't
Long. We'll wait and see what happens with those Toronto Maple Leafs. Your Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay? Justin and I were with them win and tie all the way. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you get a chance, give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. Enjoy your second round.